After bringing the remake of Super Mario RPG and many other gems to the Switch, Nintendo is gearing up to release the reissue of another adventure starring the legendary plumber, Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Should you buy this game? Originally released in 2004 on Game Boy Advance, it was developed by the same Nintendo software technology team from Redmond that is handling this remake. The game represents a unique chapter in Super Mario's career. Conceived as a spiritual sequel to the classic arcade game Donkey Kong, NST's title draws heavily from the typical Mario adventure formula, featuring the inevitable platforms, collectible items, and bosses to defeat, but adapts it to a rather novel context, that of puzzle games. Its levels are all about completing them within a tight time limit, filled with obstacles, but the design philosophy leans more towards lateral thinking than reflexes or mechanical skill with the controller. These are the first impressions from journalists who have been able to try the game these days. Mario vs. Donkey Kong starts with a beautiful CGI movie, summarizing, in broad strokes, the narrative backdrop that launches the overall clad plumber into yet another adventure. However, this time, there's no princess in danger to save. Instead, we must stop the destructive rage of Donkey Kong, furious for failing to get the latest creation from Mario's toy company, the adorable Mini Mario action figure. This item quickly became unavailable in stores, but the irate ape has a brilliant idea: to go directly to the factory and steal all the Mini Marios he can find. Needless to say, it's up to Nintendo's mustachioed mascot to resolve the situation in a journey through the inevitable sequence of colorful worlds, clashing repeatedly with what has been his first nemesis. We're facing the same narrative framework tested in the version from 20 years ago, used more to provide users with a pretext to tackle the puzzles devised by Nintendo's team than to tell a story of any depth. And that's fine. As we mentioned, the tale unfolds through a series of small, high-quality video clips made with the game engine. Thanks to the irresistible cast of characters, these interludes enrich the plot with just the right amount of levity, eliciting more than a few smiles. It remains to be seen the quality of these videos in the long run, and whether the adventure's epilogue remains the same as what we saw on the unforgettable Game Boy Advance. As far as we saw, Mario vs. Donkey Kong seems to accurately pay tribute to the source material without taking too many liberties, at least in terms of narrative and structure. As we mentioned at the outset, this reissue of NST's title also inherits its unusual gameplay recipe, blending the basics of the 2D Super Mario platform series with a full-fledged puzzle game framework. Each of the proposed levels has the main objective of collecting a key hidden somewhere on the map and bringing it as quickly as possible near the sealed door to unlock it and continue the adventure. There are also secondary tasks to complete to obtain the perfect evaluation, such as collecting gift packages placed in particularly tricky points on the map or trying to save all the Mini Marios in specific levels. It's unfortunate that the original score indicator has been completely removed, which would have favored replayability. Nevertheless, there are dozens and dozens of different obstacles, from sharp spikes to pools of scorching lava, passing, as tradition dictates, through opponents of various shapes and forms. A peculiarity of the experience is that each enemy creature can be used to your advantage to achieve certain results during the level. You can, for example, jump on an opponent's shoulders, lift and throw them onto a bed of spikes, then use their body as a launching pad to reach otherwise unreachable platforms, or make enemies collide with each other to eliminate them from the competition. Moving on to navigating the scenarios, Mario vs. Donkey Kong closely follows that of any classic 2D Super Mario chapter, with a feeling that is immediately quite familiar. Of course, the overall pace appears significantly slower from the get-go, especially compared to the dynamic Super Mario Wonder, but it's an understandable choice considering the puzzle game nature of the experience. The main novelty in terms of movement is Mario's ability to perform a handstand, which allows him to make even higher jumps than usual and shield himself from falling projectiles. It's a smart addition that expands the range of maneuvers available to solve puzzles and opens the way to a small amount of personal interpretation of the scenarios. Nothing too complex, of course, but we like the idea of being able to save ourselves, in some situations, simply by thoroughly understanding the threat patterns and executing higher and more precise jumps than usual. We cannot yet comment on the validity of this mechanic in the more advanced stages of the adventure, when the difficulty level reaches its peak, but for now, we can say we're quite satisfied. Mario vs. Donkey Kong's gameplay loop seems capable of providing fun, and is perfect for quick sessions during breaks or for long immersive sessions. And for a game almost 20 years old, it's a remarkable achievement. Another commendable aspect is the inclusion of a difficulty selector that allows activating a simplified mode that makes our mustachioed protagonist much tougher. The general challenge level of the game, at least from what we've tried, seems fairly balanced, albeit slightly tilted towards the higher side. So the idea of introducing a simplified version of the gameplay is the right move to allow newcomers to approach the product. Nintendo has also announced that this remake will bring with it a series of completely new content, but we'll talk about it in due course. A final consideration regarding the gameplay. We are faced with a product that adapts excellently to portable use thanks to the appreciable division of worlds into different frames of increasing difficulty, culminating each time in the inevitable clash with the cute, tie-wearing monkey. From a technical and artistic standpoint, as expected, NST seems to have done an excellent job of modernization. Although the original was already quite pleasing aesthetically, this new edition brings with it a good level of graphic quality, enriched by excellent polygonal models, pleasant animations, and the usual cheerful and carefree atmospheres that permeate every incarnation of the Mario saga. Even the color palette, with its bright and vibrant colors, echoes what we've seen in Mario's latest appearances on Nintendo's hybrid console, promising a visually pleasing presentation that would be of absolute value. In conclusion, we recommend the purchase to those who want to challenge themselves with a fun and colorful puzzle game. Nintendo Switch continues the recovery of the historical memory of old consoles with a return, that of Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which is an almost complete remake of the title for Game Boy Advance. A concept that is pleasant to rediscover today, but, although with the new additions, may not keep up with the times compared to current productions. However, for those who have never played it, it could be the ideal game to keep handy on the hybrid console. See you in the next video,